Hi, I'm Mike Muetzel, author of They're Not Aloof, Just Generation X, president of MX Marketing Management Solutions. You know, most of the work that I do, workshops on generational studies and generational leadership, is done in a corporate setting, and therefore often proprietary and not appropriate to put up on the internet. This is some of the workshop that I did recently for a group called CHASE, the Center for Health Administration and Aging Services Excellence. Just a wonderful group up in Eau Claire, Wisconsin. They've done amazing, amazing things. Anyway, this workshop was with their board of directors as well as the local chamber. Get a feel for some of the things that we've researched. This particular workshop features a lot of research from the first quarter of 2016. I hope you enjoy. I hope it makes you laugh a little bit, but most of all, I hope it makes you think. Hey, if you have an interest, check out our site, www.unlockthemysteries.com.
Through his work with the National Emerging Leaders Summit that he does at George Washington University. One thing that the members of our college are excited about today, and I think probably the reason Doug asked me to introduce him, is the subject of effectively managing a multi-generational workforce is an important one. And we've got faculty on staff that are in the middle of researching this very topic in a number of areas. So I think we'll all learn a lot today, and Mike, thank you for being here. Appreciate it.
Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Good. Yeah, I'm off the chart thrilled to be here. One of the greatest things in my life is working with young leaders in long-term care in conjunction with George Washington, a program initiated by Dr. Olson, working with Kevin Hansen last couple of years. You know, I do 99% corporate work. I don't do a lot of association work. So I was telling Kevin, I'm with guys every day that were in a ropes course yesterday learning trust, and then screwing the guy that caught him the day after. Metaphorically, of course. And I'm only talking to people outside of Eau Claire, where that never happens. I don't have a lot of time today, so I'm going to get into it. Let me tell you this, too. I'm very passionate about this subject matter, and I also have a tendency to be controversial in some of the things that my research has indicated. So let me start with this line, if you will. I'm not suggesting that you need to change the way you lead in your organizations as much as I am suggesting that you need to make change an inherent part of leading your organizations. Every generation is different. How could they not be, right? I mean, how could they not be? So let's talk about the alphabet soup here very quickly. Lynette, your job's going to be tough, girl, because I'm a wanderer. Listen, I just want to give you a quick rundown, because I'm going to use these terms over the course of the next 40 minutes or so. And I want to start here at the bottom, if you will. This is kind of the alphabet soup that you see the media talk about intergenerational issues, both in marketing as well as family and domestic issues, as well as obviously the corporate scenario. Let me say this, up until 1960 or so, we never really measured tendencies and social norms and ideological differences in generations, so there really was no definition of a generation. You know, in the 60s and 70s, somebody thought it would be important, probably with the hippie culture, to start to measure, right? Who went to a Grateful Dead concert? Come on, I sat next to you, right? Thank you, thank you. Your hair looks nice today. Anyway, so the interesting thing was there was no data, right? So how do you define a generation? So the original researchers just kind of arbitrarily picked a 15-year increment to measure a generation, if you will. Today's authors have staked their claim by saying, no, this generation should be 18 years, this generation should be 12 years. Let's just move by all that. I'm not here to define generations for you. I want to give you a general idea. Over here you see the alphabet soup. Over here you see the approximate ages. Again, don't get locked into this. If you argue that I'm 34 years old and I'm a Gen Xer, or I'm 37 years old and I'm a millennial, I love you to death. You can be whatever you want to be. With that being said, a couple of interesting things to look at here. the traditionalists, what Brokaw calls the greatest generation, and we often refer to in the media as war babies. These are folks that traditionally would be out of the workforce, right? But their pensions were cut by 90%, 5 years ago, so they're hanging on for dear life. Baby boomers. When I started my research in 2000, this was a far different scenario. I can remember baby boomers being 29 and 30. I interviewed about 700 for the Gen X book. Now they're 52 years old. I can't believe it. Who's considers himself a boomer in here? Yeah, we got to do the handshake, right? I'm a card-carrying boomer. Although I've been called in the media a boomer who was converted to a Gen X, but we'll cover that. Boomers are very interesting. Millennials basically say it's just time to blow it up. The funny thing is, my boss thinks I'm doing a great job, when in fact I'm only operating on 6 out of 10 cylinders. I could do so much more. This is what they're telling me. And this is what they're telling Pew and Gallup, right? And Deloitte and Korn Ferry are all in this research game now. Why is this an important subject? This is all data coming out of the first quarter of 2016. Really, really interesting stuff. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it. Suffice it to say that 45% of millennials, their expectation is that they would leave their current job within 2 years. So here's where I get managers telling me, right, why would I invest to train these people when they're going to leave anyway? How can you afford not to invest in them? So now your challenge is to get them on board in the mission of your organization. Because the days of charismatic leadership are over. Trust me. Don't I know? Organizations to be mission-centric, because employees don't trust leadership. But if they feel like their company, even a for-profit company, is doing something to help people, the job is to save Americans money and save America's energy. So they become mission-centric in that regard. Okay? So now what happens is, when they interview somebody, they actually interview with that in mind, right? We're about helping people preserve energy. Can you give me 3 times in your work history where you felt like you really helped somebody accomplish a goal? What a cool interview question, right? Meets the behavioral interview stipulations for all my HR. Yeah, all that. But this is sad. Only 3% of employees, according to Gallup, and again, let's say they're off. Let's say it's not 3%. Let's say it's 8. Let's say it's 10. Let's say it's 15. Yeah, so let's say it's 20%, right? Em? So 20% of employees, only 20% see the correlation between what they do when they come in and drive the truck or sweep the floor or answer the phone or make accounts payables, receivables, whatever it is, and what the mission of the organization is. And if people don't respect individual charismatic leadership, but they want to be involved in a mission-centric organization, now you start to see where that bridge and that chasm is so huge. Does that make sense? This is huge. We were talking about this on my table before. Combining personal growth and professional development. Companies, before the budgets were cut in 2008, 2009, big companies were doing a lot in succession planning with very little success. How many of you have done succession planning? I took all my leadership work and I changed the book and made it succession planning. I got a lot of business out of that. The same stuff. Anyway. Until you get to millennials and Gen X. You see, they don't care about succession planning. They don't want to know how they're going to help your organization better. They want to know how you're going to make them better. Because I'm not sure that's necessarily true. But you see the numbers here. This is the last thing I want to talk about in terms of development, linking personal development and how it affects your organization. Incidentally, this information is from Deloitte, again, released in the first quarter of 2016. Deloitte's a pretty credible organization, trust me. There's a lot of support for those wishing to take on higher leadership roles, that is, development of skills that would make them marketable as leaders. 68% more likely to stay 5 years, 52% leave within 2 years. My leadership skills are not being fully developed. Again, you see the reverse. They're looking for their personal development. Now, in this case, they're referring to it as leadership skills. My experience has been it could be anything. Taking a factory worker and teaching him how to be a welder will keep him with the organization.
metaphorically. Does that make sense? Taking an accounts payable person and sending them for a junior college certification in accounting will keep them with your organization. And to the point somebody raised so accurately earlier, a lot cheaper. Oh, that was Scott. We were talking about how much does it cost to replace an employee, and we were talking about SHRM trying to define what that number is. Is it 1 times, 2 times, 3 times, 4 times? Yeah, a lot less than replacing that employee. Any way you measure it, anyway. Same thing here on encouraged and overlooked. When is it too soon to begin a culture? Like I said, this mission culture, this linking personal growth and professional development should be a part of the interview. We're all about helping people, right? We're all about being the answer for solutions in the long-term care industry. Can you give me 3 times in your work history where you felt like you honestly contributed to making a difference? And then you zip it. And even if they can't answer the question, what have you done? You've set the tone for the culture of your organization before they even got hired. How cool is that? Orientation. Oh my gosh, this is a pet peeve of mine. Orientation.
Hey, that gives you an idea of some of the stuff that I do. I don't know, man. I'm having a blast. I guess I'm a boomer, but at the end of the day, I probably think more like a Gen X or a millennial. Check us out, www.unlockthemysteries.com. Customized workshops for your leadership team and your middle management team, as well as keynotes and banquets. Man, I would love to meet you and love to hear from you. www.unlockthemysteries.com.